Ah, Smart Water, now in a sleek can.
This feels cool, literally.
Perfect for social gatherings and on the go.
Should I start wearing turtlenecks?
One sip at a time, friend. Smart Water cans, for those with a taste for taste. Get yours today.
Anyway, we got Mike Lawler on the line.
Good.
Dick. So
we're on with Mike Lawler, the congressman for Rockland County, Putnam County, and that area.
Hey, Mike.
Welcome, Mike. How you doing?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good. I just want to, first of all, just say that I'm a Mike Lawler fan. And I helped this guy get elected. I watched him get reelected. And he's grown so much in the job. He's become a major force in Washington and a major statesman in the area.
I believe
and
that also.
I am very, very, very much looking forward to Mike if he decides to run for governor of New York. He's going to have my full support, and I think that he'll win it without a primary.
And Mike, we need you on that wall.
Well, I appreciate that, Dick.
Wonderful
Thank you
to
for
watch that.
the very gracious words, and certainly for the support over the years.
So with the major changes that Trump has brought about, the huge tariffs and the deportations, how do you think he's doing so far?
Well, I think overall he's doing very well. Obviously, when you look at the border crisis, that was one of the biggest issues of the election. And frankly, the fact that the media is not even talking about it speaks volumes to how well they've done on stopping.
Yeah. One of the only examples I can think of a problem that was totally solved, not a little bit, not a 10-year plan, not a 5-year plan, but totally solved in 2 months.
I know.
Well, this goes to what we were saying, when the Democrats were trying to put forth this quote-unquote bipartisan bill that would have codified catch and release into law. And we were saying you don't need to do that. You just need to enforce the law.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, the president has taken significant steps to do that, and his administration, and deporting criminal aliens, as well as those who have had previous deportation orders against them. So, they've made significant progress of not only getting the criminals out of our country, but stopping the influx, because folks realize that they're not going to be able to just be released into the country.
Right.
He has forced Mexico and Canada to start engaging in serious efforts to control the border and stop the flow of fentanyl and other deadly drugs coming in.
And on top of that, he's got a 0 going on. There's zero inflation in the last reports. Now, the economists always say, oh, my goodness, wait till the tariffs hit. But that is just posturing. The fact of the matter is that inflation in the United States is basically at 0 and has been for the last 2 or 3 months.
Inflation has come down. Prices are coming down. Look, long term, obviously, if we're in a trade war, that's not good. But I think he is changing the trajectory here with what he's trying to do, and force these other countries, including many countries that are allies that have obviously done well from trade with the United States, to change their practices. When you have barriers to entry, where you have American cars, for instance, not being seen or available in Japan, and price controls in Europe. And you see what they have done to block, our ag markets and beef, for instance, in Australia and Europe. These are significant issues. And so when we talk about fair trade, this is, frankly, what it requires to push back and to force them back to the negotiating table. And I think you're going to see very quickly.
From the point of view of macroeconomics, every president has a problem, which is if you stimulate the economy, you create jobs, but you do it too much, you create inflation. So what Trump is saying is, I'm going to increase buying power in the United States. I'm going to increase the amount of American companies can sell. But I'm going to do it in foreign countries. I'm going to do it by increasing tariffs so the consumers in other countries buy our products. and we don't have to force feed the economy in the United States and cause inflation. And at the same time, I'm not going to impose these tariffs on countries that play ball with us and that that keep their tariffs down. With those countries, I'll let their products in, and with the others, I'll keep them out, so that more and more countries are investing in the U.S., building plants and equipment here, hiring people here, manufacturing here, because they know if they do it abroad, they're going to hit with tariffs. And those two initiatives, increasing jobs on the supply side and laying off demand into other countries, I think are the formula for economic growth without inflation that Trump is achieving.
No question. And I think, obviously, Democrats for years talked about, how bad, these trade deals were and how we outsourced our jobs to other countries. Well, this is going to force investment back into the United States. It's going to force companies to create jobs here, which, frankly, is better than paying them billions of dollars in taxpayer subsidies to do it.
Yep.
And that's, this is a change. And Wall Street, obviously, in the immediate, yes, they're having a negative reaction. But the fact is that if very quickly Donald Trump is able to force other countries to the negotiating table, if we get trade deals that result in lower tariffs on U.S. goods, that is a positive. And
like Vietnam is just done. Israel's just done. It's very impressive.
India.
So, Mike, a caller a few minutes ago called in and said, why don't we have a DOGE, D-O-G-E, the Department of Government Efficiency, in New York State? We have all this huge debt, more debt than any state except California. Why don't we rein in state spending in New Albany the way we're doing it in Washington? What do you think about that?
New York needs it. And I wouldn't call it Doge. I would call it enema. The fact is, New York needs a complete overhaul. They have increased state spending by $100 billion in a decade. Our state budget is being proposed by the governor and the legislature to be at $260 billion, more than double the size of Florida, despite having 3 million less in population. The fact is, it's unsustainable. We lead the nation in outmigration. We have the highest tax burden in the country, the worst business climate. The quality of life has declined precipitously because of issues like crime and the migrant crisis. New York is spending billions of dollars of taxpayer money on free housing, clothing, food, education, and health care for illegal immigrants. It's not sustainable. Look, we live in the greatest state in the country, and New York has everything right there at your fingertips.
Yeah.
But there's a reason people are leaving, and it has nothing to do with the weather. It has everything to do with the cost of living and the quality of life. And if we don't reverse course and we don't start to right-size government in New York and start to reduce the overall tax burden, cut regulations. I mean, New York has over 1 million business regulations on the books. You look at energy policy, they have shut down nuclear power. They've blocked natural gas.
They blocked fracking.
Created a calamity where utility costs have skyrocketed as a result.
You look at outstate Pennsylvania, Allentown and places like that. There are millionaires overnight
from the fracking.
And yet Cuomo and Hochul have stopped fracking dead in New York State.
And it was foolish because, if you look at, the value of one's home in upstate New York, it has declined while taxes have risen to pay for all the services that are needed. And folks are struggling. They need jobs. They need economic opportunity. Energy is critical. And we can have an all of the above approach. We can have renewables. We can have solar and hydro and wind. But you need natural gas, you need nuclear power, you need to reduce the overall cost of utilities to bring back manufacturing to this state. Right. Upstate New York used to be filled from one community to the next with manufacturing, and it is depleted over 3 decades.
So what do you think of the idea of a DOGE commission for New York?
The enema commission, and you put in.
Look, New York needs a complete overhaul, and you need to. I've said this for years. You can call it whatever you want. The fact is that you need to actually employ a serious line-by-line, department-by-department, agency-by-agency review. You look at the MTA. They carry more debt than 80% of the states in the country. Think about that.
Really?
One authority carries more debt than 80% of the states, and their sole focus is on transportation in the city and the surrounding suburbs. It's insane what has happened in New York because of feckless leadership like Kathy Hochul. Andrew Cuomo signed so many of these disastrous policies into law, from congestion pricing to cashless bail. He made New York a sanctuary state. Yep. Now he acts like he had nothing to do with any of it. But the fact is that these policies under one-party Democratic rule have been disastrous. And so you need a comprehensive review. You need a complete forensic audit of all of the spending in New York. We want to make sure that we take care of those who need help. There's no question about that. That is the role of government. But you have to make sure that you are spending taxpayer money wisely and efficiently, and that the people who need these services, from the IDD community to our seniors to our veterans, that we have the resources to take care of them, and that we're not wasting taxpayer money like $100 million on political campaigns. I mean, they're spending $100 million annually on taxpayer-funded political campaigns. It's insane.
That's like cows being fed their cud.
Exactly.
We need you to be strong and do Mike, exactly what you're saying when you become
one
governor.
Of your people mentioned to me the idea that Hochul is releasing a lot of inmates. Tell us about that.
Why don't we go to break, and we'll have you come back right after break. What do you say, Mike? Hang out for another couple of minutes?
Yep. Sounds good.
Great.
We have Congressman Mike Lawler from Rockland County.
And Mike, I just want to say to you that you're in great company, because I use that. We need you on the wall for my good friend, General Flynn. So I just want you to know that.
So tell us about Hochul releasing inmates. I didn't know about that.
Well, it just speaks to the insanity of New York. A few years ago, the state legislature passed the HALT Act, basically prohibiting corrections officers from using punitive segregation or solitary confinement, with the worst of the worst, and those committing offenses while in prison. And that, has made the jails and prisons less safe around the state. You saw a few weeks ago the corrections officers go on strike. Governor Hochul, rather than actually addressing the challenges, fired over 2,000 corrections officers for refusing to go to work. And now, as a result of not having enough corrections officers, she is releasing prisoners early.
No way.
And it's insane. It is
How many is she
emblematic of the
releasing?
problems in New York. I'm sorry?
How many is she releasing?
Well, they're going through the process now, but they put out a memo this week announcing that they're going to start releasing prisoners. And it's crazy, and just speaks volumes, again, to the ineptitude of Kathy Hochul and her administration when it comes to dealing with the challenges, especially around public safety. Right now in the legislature, in the budget, they're talking about changes to Discovery to actually fix some of the problems. But she's getting pushback from members of the legislature. And instead of using the power vested in her under court case Pataki v. Silver, she could jam this through, and she just doesn't have the competence or ability to do it. And this is why New York continues to flounder.
Interesting.
This National Foster Care Month, Marine Toys for Tots is providing hope to children who need it most. Staff Sergeant James Caldwell, who grew up in foster care himself, shares that while handing out gifts at a Toys for Tots distribution event, a little girl looked up at him, reached into her bag, pulled out a stuffed animal and said, "Someone needs to make sure you get a toy too." That simple gesture embodies the heart of Marine Toys for Tots, ensuring every child, including those in foster care, experiences the kindness that can transform their future. Visit toysfortots.org today.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Americans love using their credit cards, the most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But D.C. politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com.
So I wanted to ask you, what do you think about the big issue going on in Washington, of course, is the Democratic contention that Trump is cutting Medicaid. And I emphasize that all he's doing is probably restoring Medicaid to the size it was when Obama took office and decided to expand it, or decided to cut the federal share, decided to cut the state share of Medicaid so that it basically became a federal program. What do you think about that?
On the expansion population, the federal share rose to 90%, so it's a 90-10 federal share.
We've seen 50-50.
In a state like New York, Medicaid has grown significantly. New York has the most expansive Medicaid program in the country. We pay 83% more for Medicaid services than the average of the other 49 states. So it's a very expensive program. Many people rely on it. They need it. These are critical services for our seniors, those in the IDD community.
But I want to interrupt you for a second. None of the cuts anybody's talking about will probably affect nursing homes.
So what we're talking about, though, is in across the country, for instance, almost $7 billion being spent on Medicaid benefits for illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
Including over $1.2 billion here in New York. And those are decisions, that the state makes. The state is administering the program. But President Trump is talking about requiring citizenship verification for Medicaid benefits. He's talking about, work requirements. This is something, Dick, you certainly would remember under Bill Clinton. They championed work requirements. Yep. So this is not, we're not talking about cutting benefits from folks who are eligible and need them. We're talking about making sure that the system is sustainable for those who need it, and that people are not fleecing taxpayers out of these benefits and really driving the system downward. Look at the cost. It is become exorbitant, and we want to make sure these programs are sustainable for the people who need and require them.
One of the other things I want to ask you about is the congestion tax. Trump initially threatened to withhold federal approval for the congestion tax, and now he's given Hochul, I think, 30 more days to review it. I hope that he knocks out the congestion tax and uses federal authority to do it. What do you think?
Look, it's a scam. It's nothing more than a cash grab. Again, the MTA is the worst-run authority in America. Even with this congestion tax, right? The objective is to raise $1 billion in revenue to borrow $15 billion more, and yet they're telling us they're still, tens of billions of dollars short for their capital program. They have no ability to manage this system effectively. Janno Lieber needs to be fired. He is a complete ignoramus, and really has run the system into the ground. But the fact is that, as I said, they carry debt greater than 80% of the states, and what they're talking about doing is adding more debt to the system without any plan to fix it and fix the problems in the system. They lose $700 million a year to those who jumped the turnstiles and refused to pay to ride the system. They put in a filing that they lost $1.4 billion to those who evaded tolls. The fact is, it's not sustainable like this, and they need to do a much better job of managing the system. The congestion pricing scam is not doing anything other than raising money. They talk about how it's reduced the flow of traffic. The fact is, it has shifted traffic to other parts of Manhattan and other parts of the city, as we said it would. And so the immediate short-term gain on that front is certainly going to be offset in other areas. But long-term, as this tax stays, if it stays in effect too long, people will adjust and they'll pay it, as part of their.
Well, I think the big thing is the
cost.
Easy Pass that makes paying tolls and taxes painless, invisible. And it used to be a big deal when they raised the subway fare, but now with Easy Pass, you don't even know it. So it's kind of funny.
Beyond Easy Pass, they're doing tolls by mail, and so as a result of that, you have a lot of people not paying the toll. Yep. At least with the Easy Pass, it's connected to your credit card.
Right. Mike, I listened to you talk about this. It's impossible for me to believe that people wouldn't vote for you. Would vote for someone like Hochul.
Well, I think that
he makes such sense.
There is no strong Republican candidate talking about running for governor. I think that it's going to be. I think that Lawler will be the Republican candidate. I think that it's going to be a Republican year. I think Hochul has slipped badly, and I just pray that Mike decides to run. Well, thank you, sir. It's great having you on.
I appreciate it, and we'll keep you posted.
Okay.
Thank you, Michael.
Bye-bye.
This is great.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
All right, man.
Hello, folks. Larry Kudlow here. Pay attention, because China is leading the largest anti-American alliance since World War II, one that's already dumped U.S. bonds, grabbed 43 million acres of our farmland, and is plotting to dethrone the dollar. That's why IRA and 401k savers are protecting their savings with gold. Please go to freegoldguide.com/Kudlow or just call 800-621-3908 for your free gold guide on how to protect your wealth with gold 100% tax-free.